I am always delighted at new ways of conceptualizing things, and guys, I don't think I have ever imagined morning in the way that our poem today explains it, but really, it makes a whole lot of sense when you get down to the brass tacks of things. Welcome to Strip Cover Lit, where we squeeze the bigger picture out of literature. I'm Adrian Ford, and we are here for another poetry discussion, which will appear, of course, inside the poetry discussion playlist here on the channel. The poem in question is Spring and Fall by Gerard Manley Hopkins. Now, prior to, say, a year ago, I don't think I had ever heard of Gerard Manley Hopkins. I think there was one poem running around that I had read on a few occasions, but really, I wasn't all that familiar with him. And over the past year or so, I've read quite a few of his poems, made quite a few videos on him, and I wouldn't say that he's one of my favorites, but I do think that he often offers some glimmer of insight that is very novel in his poetry. Now, that it sounds like, well, duh, that's what poetry does, but really, guys, not all poetry does that. And it is especially difficult to conceptualize something which is commonplace in poetry, the way that I think Gerard Manley Hopkins does. Here, how many poems are there about being in a state of grief, in a state of loss, in a state of mourning? Very few of them shine actual new light on the subject. Very few poems about spring and fall shine new light on the subject, but I think we have one of those here. Spring and Fall by Gerard Manley Hopkins reads as such. Margaret, are you grieving over Golden Grove unleaving? Leaves like the things of man, you with all your fresh thoughts care for, can you? Ah, as the heart grows older, it will come to such sights colder, by and by, nor spare a sigh. The worlds of wanwood leaf meal lie, and yet you will weep, and know why. Now, no matter, child, the name, sorrow's springs are the same, nor mouth had, no, nor mind expressed, what heart heard of, ghost guessed. It is the blight man was born for. It is Margaret you mourn for. Now, um, this is interesting because we have to start with the title, right? Spring and Fall. Probably that is fairly obvious on a literary criticism front. Spring is birth, fall is death. If we are taking this to the day-night court, spring is morning, fall is evening. Now, it's not the dead of dead, that's the winter, that's the nighttime, but when it's fall, you're pretty much done. So what we have is the revelation towards the end of the poem here. Where are we at? My mouse is not quite working. I need to figure that out. It is the blight man was born for. What is the blight that man was born for? Basically, the blight that man was born for means, really, this is the meaning of life. This is the toil that we were born to do. This is the burden that we were meant to endure. What is the burden that we were meant to endure? Well, grieving. It is grieving that we were meant to endure. That's what we were born for. We were born to grieve. Which, if that's where Hopkins left it, I think would be intriguing, but it would not be all that revolutionary. It would not be all that in-depth. It would not be all that groundbreaking. It would not be all of that novel. But that last line does add to this poem. That final line there is important to the meaning of the poem. It is Margaret you mourn for. Who's Margaret? Margaret, are you grieving? The person to whom this poem is written is Margaret, meaning that it is Margaret that Margaret is grieving for. This is an interesting turn here. When we mourn a person, this is a selfish act, as this poem would have us believe, but there's one more level past this we'll get to in a moment, but I do want to stick here for just one moment. There is someone important to you, and you lose them, and you mourn. You grieve. You are sad. What are you sad for? Really, what are you sad for? Is it because that other person isn't there anymore? Yeah, right? It's because that other person isn't there anymore. That's why you're sad. That's why you're grieving. That's why you mourn. But grieving because that other person isn't there anymore is not grieving for that person. Grieving because that other person is no longer there is grieving that you do not have what you had with them. You will never experience those moments together again. You will never, with that person, enjoy whatever it is you did together. I don't know what people do together. Do you see movies still? Do you go get hot cocoa? Do you get stone massages together? Whatever it is that people do, I have no idea. I'm sitting here making videos all the time. Whatever it is that people do together, when you are mourning them, you are mourning that you no longer have that connection with them. That's kind of the selfish part of it. That's you saying, hey, I had something with that person. That person is gone, yeah, but I don't really care about that. I care about what I had with them. Is all you can care for, really. I do think that there is some caveat to be had there for a parental type of love. Hoping for the future of someone. And yeah, sure, that's there for a lot of people a lot of the time. But when you're mourning a person, really what it is that you're mourning is what you had with them. That's the only context in which you can really mourn. But I want to... There's one further thing here. There's one more thing that we have to talk about. And it's something that did not look as sinister the first time we read it, because we didn't know we were mourning for ourselves yet. Margaret, are you grieving over Golden Grove unleaving? Leaves like the things of man you with your fresh thoughts care for, can you? Ah, as the heart grows older, it will come to such sights colder. Why does this suddenly pick up some bit of sinister ambiance to it? Well, we've already talked about the fact that what we're grieving is not the other person, it's what we had with them. So it's not the fact that we get used to the loss, to the grieving process, to mourning. That's not what is being said here in retrospect. No. What is being said here in retrospect, because when you're mourning yourself, you're feeling bad for yourself. What is being said here earlier in the poem, before we get to that revelation, is the fact that you will stop caring for yourself. You will go through life and care a little bit less and a little bit less for yourself. You will take less care of yourself. It's the natural process. You're grieving? Oh, that's cute. You'll stop feeling soon. Isn't that nice? That is all I have for this poetry discussion. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other literature lovers. If you find yourself here by chance but not design, literature is the only thing that I talk about on the channel, dropping multiple videos every single week, and there's poetry every Monday, and I hope to have you back for the next one.